how do you know you were meant to pastor? Well, there are three ways that I can tell you that you were meant to become a pastor. And take these three ways as a reference point or even a framework, because I don't want to put a limit on what the Holy Spirit can and cannot do in your life, because the Holy Spirit is personal. The way He operates in my life can be a bit different on how He operates in yours. So again, take these three ways as a framework and reference point. Number one, your peers and strangers see it in you. There was one time when I was 18 years old and I was working a security guard at the time. And I remember patrolling the parking lot. And as I was patrolling, there was this elderly guy that came to me and he said, "Hey, what's going on, son?" And I remember just greeting him. And he just told me, "There's a light about you. There's just something. There's a light about you." And I said, "Oh, thank you, sir. I appreciate that." And he told me, "Hold on to that." And he left. And I always remember, because that's a very fond memory of mine. Like, what stranger says that to an 18-year-old kid? So I kept that memory with me. And even recently, at my current job, when I first started working there was a guy named Ryan. And when I first met him, we talked, we bonded at work for like a few weeks. And then he said, "Man, there's a light about you, Marcus." And I was like, "Whoa, I do go to church. I serve and I volunteer at church." And he was like, "Yeah, that's it. Pastor Marcus." And I started to laugh because I was like, "What the heck?" He's like, "Yeah, man. You're a pastor, man. Pastor Marcus." And I was like, "Thank you, man. I appreciate that." And I took that as a form of respect coming from him. So, yes. Number one, peers and strangers will see Jesus in you. Number two, leadership will see it in you. I believe, as a firm believer in Jesus, one that is called to ministry and even more to pastor, you have to attend and serve under a local church. So as you're serving in ministry, in whatever capacity that looks like, whoever is leading you will see the pastor in you. One of the first people to call me a pastor was my senior pastor. I remember I did announcements, and after announcements, he saw me in the foyer. "Pastor Marcus." And I was like, we'll see. I was like, we'll see. Who knows? And then time goes by, and I serve alongside one of my best friends, who's also the associate pastor of the church. He also tells me that he sees me becoming a pastor. So number two, the leaders in your church will see the pastor in you. Last but not least, thirdly, you will confirm what their peers and strangers see and what your leadership sees through prayer, and prayer. Prayer is essential whenever you want to seek out whatever God is trying to speak with you. And also reading His Word. To me, that's first and foremost. But prayer, underneath that, prayer is one of the most effective and most important parts in your walk of faith. That's how you seek confirmation. And so, yes, one of the biggest confirmations I got to becoming a pastor was through prayer. I remember there was a week when I was at work, and I told God, if I'm meant to pastor, Lord, let it be your will. Show me a way, show me something to confirm that I was meant to pastor. And so a few days go by. When I come home from work, my wife was just excited to tell me what was happening at work. And so when she was on her lunch, she told me that she was on the phone with a customer. My wife works in the bank, and there's like tens of thousands of customers at this bank. So she told me she was on a call, and a guy said that he was transferred 2 times, that he talked to 2 other agents before her. And as she's on the phone talking to this guy, the guy says, I was meant to talk to you. My wife goes, what? The guy says, yeah, I was meant to talk to you. And so my wife was tripping out. And the guy goes on to describe our room. He says, just by the sound of your voice, I can tell that you're next to your bed, that your sheets are this color, and that your curtains are this color, and that you have 2 kids and a husband. And my wife started to freak out. She was like, what the heck? And the guy said, I'm a minister. And for some reason, the Spirit told me to tell you that you're going to be okay. The Spirit told me to tell you and your husband that you guys were going to be okay. And I didn't know this beforehand, but the prayer that I was praying was similar to what my wife was praying that same week. There's people in the church that was looking at her to do leadership things, to become a leader within ministry. And my wife was like, oh, I don't know. She was hesitant. So was I, because I think there's a lot of weight that you carry as a pastor. So I wanted to confirm, and I did that through prayer. I cannot stress this enough. 3 ways that you guys can tell is: number 1, through your peers and strangers; number 2, your leadership within your church; and number 3, through prayer. If you learned or took anything away from this, please subscribe, leave a comment down below. I hope your days are filled with blessings. Take care.